When news broke on October 11, 2025 that Diane Keaton had passed away at 79, few reactions struck deeper than Al Pacino's. According to Variety and People, the 85-year-old actor was devastated, canceling public appearances and asking for privacy. Those close to him told Deadline that Keaton had been the one constant in his life, a bond that began over 50 years earlier on the set of The Godfather. Their connection had always been visible. In a 2017 New York Times interview, Pacino called her the heartbeat of that film, while Keaton told People in 2013 that Pacino was the love of my life. For decades they avoided speaking publicly about their relationship, but insiders never doubted its depth. Now, after her death, Pacino has begun sharing memories with friends and journalists, remarks later confirmed by Vanity Fair and Entertainment Weekly, that quietly acknowledge what many suspected all along, that Diane Keaton was not just a co-star or a past romance, but the person who understood him best. It's a story that spans 5 decades, 9 Oscar nominations, and one enduring truth, that sometimes the most lasting love in Hollywood isn't the one lived out loud, but the one that never truly ended. It was 1971 when Francis Ford Coppola began assembling his cast for The Godfather. According to The Guardian and the American Film Institute archives, Al Pacino was a relatively unknown stage actor, while Diane Keaton was best known for her work in Woody Allen's Broadway play Play It Again, Sam. Coppola took a chance on both, she as Kay Adams, he as Michael Corleone, and what followed became one of cinema's most enduring partnerships. Their chemistry was immediate. Co-star James Caan told Vanity Fair that, "You could see Al and Diane connect in those early readings. She brought lightness to every scene he darkened." Coppola himself later said in a 2008 Empire retrospective that Keaton's presence softened Pacino's intensity, making Michael Corleone more human. Filming began in March 1971 in New York and Sicily. Crew members recalled the contrast: Pacino quiet, methodical, often lost in thought; Keaton spontaneous, always laughing between takes. In The Godfather Family, a look inside documentary, Keaton remembered being terrified and fascinated by Pacino's stillness, saying she'd never met anyone like him. What started as professional respect quickly became personal connection. By the time The Godfather premiered in March 1972, their friendship had deepened into something more private, yet both avoided the spotlight. People magazine later described them as the rare Hollywood pair who refused to publicize affection or deny it. From the beginning, their relationship existed in quiet balance, his intensity against her warmth, his precision against her unpredictability. Those contrasts would define not only their performances but the bond that kept them tied for the next half-century. By the time The Godfather Part II entered production in 1973, Al Pacino and Diane Keaton's relationship had quietly moved beyond the screen. Neither spoke about it then, but multiple colleagues confirmed their closeness. In a 2014 Vanity Fair oral history, Coppola recalled that the two were inseparable on set, while actor Talia Shire said Keaton brought out something tender in Al that none of us had seen. Their romance unfolded during years when both careers were exploding. Pacino earned consecutive Oscar nominations for Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon, while Keaton was becoming Woody Allen's leading lady. In People's 1989 profile, Keaton admitted that fame complicated everything, calling their relationship a mix of devotion and distance. Pacino, she said, was brilliant but unreachable. The couple drifted apart soon after The Godfather Part II wrapped in 1974. Pacino told Rolling Stone decades later that he wasn't ready for commitment and that his focus was entirely on acting. Keaton confirmed in her 2011 memoir Then Again that she had wanted marriage, while Pacino couldn't even imagine it. She ended things describing him as too intense, too private, and too good to fight. Still, their affection never disappeared. When Entertainment Weekly reunited the Godfather cast in 1997, Pacino said, "We loved each other. Still do, in some way." Keaton added simply, "He was my Michael." That quiet acknowledgement summarized their dynamic, love that had burned brightly, then cooled without bitterness. Their breakup wasn't explosive or public, it was the kind of ending that leaves no villains, only timing and temperament. For Pacino, the loss would linger far longer than he admitted then. For Keaton, it became one of those rare Hollywood stories that never fully closed, just paused, waiting for memory to finish what romance could not. After their breakup, Al Pacino and Diane Keaton's connection evolved into something quieter but enduring. They continued to share professional milestones even as their personal lives diverged. In 1979's The Godfather Part 3 planning stages, Coppola initially intended to reunite the entire original cast, but Keaton's role as K. Corleone remained tied to Pacino's. When filming began in 1990, observers noted the familiar ease between them. "You could feel the history in every scene," cinematographer Gordon Willis told The Hollywood Reporter. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, they often crossed paths socially, but never rekindled romance. In a 2004 Larry King Live appearance, Keaton called Pacino, "one of the most important people in my life," and Pacino told CBS Sunday Morning in 2010 that she was the kindest, most original woman I've ever known. They were no longer a couple, but they remained part of each other's stories. Friends described their bond as sibling-like, but with unmistakable affection. They would phone each other on birthdays, send small gifts, and check in between projects. When Keaton won her Oscar for Annie Hall in 1978, Pacino reportedly sent flowers with a note that read, "Proud beyond words." Decades later, she returned the gesture when Pacino received the American Film Institute Lifetime Achievement Award in 2007. In interviews, both admitted they still shared a shorthand few others understood. "It sets the trust," Pacino told The Guardian in 2015. "We know each other sets rhythm." Keaton echoed that sentiment in Parade, saying, "I don't sets think Al and I ever stopped caring. We just turned into family." For two performers defined by intensity, what lasted wasn't passion, but mutual respect, a rare, steady friendship that outlived the roles that first brought them together. As the years passed, Al Pacino became increasingly candid about what Diane Keaton meant to him. In interviews spanning decades, he described her not just as a co-star, but as a grounding force during the most chaotic period of his life. Speaking to The New Yorker in 2019, Pacino called her a person of great clarity and humor, admitting she saw through all the layers of acting, fame, and fear. Keaton, for her part, was equally open in later years. In Then Again, she wrote that Pacino was irresistible, and that nothing about him was ordinary. Their romantic chapter had ended, but their emotional tie lingered. She said she'd stopped expecting him to change and loved him more for that honesty. When The Godfather marked its 50th anniversary in 2022, Pacino told Vanity Fair that working with Keaton was like catching lightning twice, adding no one else ever matched that chemistry. Reporters noted the warmth in his voice whenever her name appeared. At a Variety tribute event that same year, he spoke more personally than ever before. "She gave that role life. I didn't know who Michael was until Diane looked at me in that first scene." Friends confirmed that Pacino remained protective of her reputation. When Keaton defended Woody Allen publicly in 2018, Pacino refused to comment but told Esquire that loyalty was Diane's religion. Privately, according to longtime friend and producer Martin Bregman, Pacino admired that loyalty even when it cost her professionally. He never remarried, though he had relationships and children. When asked in 2015 whether he believed in lasting love, Pacino smiled and told The Guardian, "I had it once. You don't lose that, even when it's gone." Many assumed he meant Diane Keaton. He never corrected them. When Diane Keaton died on October 11, 2025, Al Pacino was in Los Angeles preparing for a small independent project. Within hours of the announcement, People magazine confirmed through his representatives that he was heartbroken and in private mourning. A friend quoted in Deadline described him as shaken to the core, saying he'd spoken to Keaton only weeks earlier about possibly appearing together at a planned Godfather anniversary screening. He did not issue a public statement immediately. Instead, according to Variety, Pacino spent several days in seclusion. Those close to him later revealed that he visited Keaton's Brentwood home before the family's private service, leaving flowers and a handwritten note. Entertainment Weekly reported that the note simply read, "Thank you for every scene, every laugh, every kindness." At the small funeral held days later, Pacino was among the few Hollywood figures present. Witnesses told The Hollywood Reporter he sat quietly at the back, sunglasses on, visibly emotional. Afterward, he spoke briefly with Keaton's family before departing without photographers nearby. One attendee described the moment as the only time anyone saw Al truly undone. In the weeks that followed, Pacino offered his first public reflection in an interview with Vanity Fair. "We were partners in something bigger than either of us," he said. "She made me better, in the work, and as a person." He called her one of the rare souls who lived without pretending. "We called her one of the rare souls who lived without pretending." Those who know him say her death forced him to confront how deeply she'd shaped his life. Not just as an actress or a memory, but as a mirror, the part of him that stayed grounded, humane, and hopeful. All of it, he now admits, came from her. In the end, Al Pacino's reflections after Diane Keaton's death revealed what had long been visible to audiences and colleagues alike, that their connection was never about celebrity, but about understanding. Across interviews with Variety, Vanity Fair, and People, Pacino emphasized that Keaton was a constant light, someone whose honesty and humor kept him grounded through decades of fame and isolation. Their relationship defied the usual Hollywood patterns. They never married, never turned their history into gossip. Yet their bond remained one of the most enduring in film. On screen, they shaped two of cinema's most iconic performances as Michael and Kay Corleone. Off-screen, they shared a friendship built on respect and an affection that neither time nor distance erased. Keaton had once said in Parade magazine that you never really stop loving certain people, you just learn to love them differently. Pacino's quiet tributes since her passing echo that sentiment. Friends told the New York Times that he keeps photographs of her in his home, and still refers to her as "my partner in truth." For both, their greatest legacy may not be the films they made, but the rare example they left behind, a love story that didn't end, only changed form. For more emotional stories, check out this video.